Okay, so if you follow me on Instagram, this is a thing I didn't want to promise, but I feel like I I think I can I can I want to do something with this YouTube channel I created what, 3 years ago. Yeah, 2 years and some months, or 3 years, no, 2 years and some months. So, but I didn't want to promise anything because I do this thing where I'm like, yeah, I'm totally gonna do this, and then I don't. So I can't make gaming videos anymore. Well, I could eventually, but that's gonna have to be on the back burner. As if anyone was so wanting this to continue. As if anybody was watching this. But yeah. So this is gonna be, I guess, something different, or what I can do. Because I've been wanting to do stuff with this, but I can't. But not with gaming, because I don't have my computer. And I can only do so much because I have neighbors and I have thin walls. So I don't know how much they're able to hear. So, hi, yes, this is what I look like. This is Leo Raven. This is what I look like. Yeah. So this is going to be something different. So, I guess in the realm of reaction videos, but like what I care about. So that's not going to be, this isn't, I don't know if this is going to be a recurring thing or not, but it was something that I have, oh my God, I hope y'all don't know the sun, because, anybody do? Okay. Because I have to be in my car to do this. This is something that I've seen and I've also combated on YouTube, on Twitter, not YouTube, on Twitter, especially during the 2024 election, that I really wanted to say that I have seen and I have combated on Twitter. And that's I'm from Burby. And it's the rise, and it's not really a rise actually, because I live in Texas and this has always been a weird thing. Conservatism and goth. And this whole month, everybody's been doing the whole Jake Munro thing. I used to follow him. So this turn of events actually wasn't that surprising. Disappointing, but it wasn't really that surprising. And I saw subscribing from him a couple of years ago. Or was it a year ago? He made a video defending Rodney Radke. That shit stain of a person. And I think that was like either a year ago. But even before that, I slowly stopped watching him, because it became very evident where he was going to. But I recently have been like, okay, everybody's making a stink about things, and he was on Tim Pool. Make that what you want with that. Because he'll also claim how the left isn't, I'm going to get ahead of myself, but one thing is that he'll claim that the left isn't inclusive and we're very closed-minded, and yet you're going on Tim Pool's podcast. Sure. But I've been seeing this, so I've actually been trying to watch as much as I can. He made a recent video, very recent, it was like literally a day ago, about how to fight cancel culture. And I thought that was so funny. I even made a whole notebook notes about this. And this is what is going to be my thoughts on this, because I've seen this a lot, and through all of his videos, I'm going to make a disclaimer. I am biased. I am a leftist. I have never voted Democrat. I've never voted Republican. However, I live in bumfuck Texas. I live 3 hours away from any major city in any radius. I don't live anywhere near any major city. I live in a very conservative hub. Very conservative. This is like a farming / retirement community. So that demographic. Also, I'm Mexican. And now that, I will say, a lot of people here are either Mexican or white. But I grew up in like the Mexican part of town. So obviously my views are going to be biased on this. At least I can sit here and say that I'm being biased on this, because I don't think Jake would ever, well, actually I don't even think these are his real views, but I'll get to that in a second. So that's where I'm coming from. obviously I'm going to be biased. Everybody's biased. Everybody's going to watch something and try to relate to their own ideas and see if it correlates or not. And clearly and obviously people are going to gravitate towards what aligns with what, right? That's literally how humans go. Now, I've seen his argument, main and foremost, which we're going to segue into this video, that you can't be goth and conservative. I mean, you can be goth and conservative because clearly there are so many goths who are conservative. And I find that very interesting because he made a video trying to debunk that goth actually isn't a political movement and blah, blah, blah. And his only real evidence, because he did have evidence that actually didn't prove his point, so that was funny. And his main thing is because we're out there, which is, I think it's really interesting and also very funny. And it's also very childlike to combat. That's very childish, right? And it's like what a child would do. Well, I can see it, and it's, yeah. That completely negates the whole concept the whole obvious humans are flawed, right? We are not perfect, no fucking duh, right? We're not perfect. We fall into hypocrisy. That's why hypocrisy is a thing. And we everyone holds beliefs that can be contradictory to themselves. One example that I see is, for example, Mexicans for Trump. That should never be a thing. We can sit here and say, we can have a discussion on why Mexicans are so big onto the conservative movement, right? Most of it has to do with religion, even though conservatism in America, at least, I mean, it doesn't like us anyways. But there can be said with that because it's how deep rooted we are in religion. I am so sorry if I'm shaking because my car is on and I need air. We can have that conversation, right? However, Mexican and Trump, that should never be a thing. You can't, and I will say, you can't be Mexican and be a Trump supporter. But you'll see people do that, and they'd be hypocrites. Also, very misguided with the misinformation that's out there. Because Trump has made a point. We all know this, yada, 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 but Trump's making a point that he doesn't like us. Okay, great. Just because something exists like that doesn't mean it's proof that it should happen. I think he's getting confused with it can't, as in this can never be a thing, like as in what's an example, like something that's an absolute. And he doesn't understand that when we say you can't be something, we're not saying, well, it can't as in it never, there you go, as it never happens. We're saying it can't because it shouldn't. That's what we mean by that. Conservatives, Goths. And he even had a video where he actually puts proof, like tries to do proof of where and how Goth started. But if you actually go further into that, it'll explain how Goth is historically been left-centered, right? Left-centered in the left. I mean, not in the center, but it's been left. Because it started after, obviously, World War II happened. Obviously, England had, I'm not going to mansplain because I'm like fucking American, but I also was a history major in college. They had a heel. Obviously, I can't even imagine that because we didn't have to deal with that because we didn't have a war on our side. Like on our actual territory. It had a shift of deep conservatism. And then Goth combated that. It started with punk, then post-punk, then goth. And it combated that sort of very strict, narrow-minded view of people and how they are. And it combated those social norms, right? Trying to force those social norms. So if we can see and say that it's that, then yes, goth is essentially left-leaning. There you go, left-leaning. There you go. Left-leaning. Duh. He even says it in his fucking thing, but he doesn't actually understand, can't, Anyways. So, that brings us on to this. He is well, I wouldn't even say alarmingly, but sure, has gone down the red pill, conservative, make America great again. I love how in a video he had said that he wanted not Americans to stop talking, but it was almost like we wouldn't understand this is a British thing, where he has like a MAGA hat on. It's like Trump's an American president. And though I do understand global politics, however, you're part of a movement of a different country's political thing and wearing a hat of a leader that isn't yours. So I think that's kind of funny and interesting. He has a very superficial relationship with politics and all of this. I really do feel like he's never deep dived, because his idea of liberalism as well, because it goes into this, how to combat the woke mob or cancel culture. He only ever wants to when he describes a leftist, it'll be either a weeaboo, and then there's body shaming, and then there's, that. I don't even want to get into that. Or I guess it could, but... Or a Californian liberal or a Californian leftist. He also doesn't understand that liberalism and leftism has actually changed. They're not the same anymore, and liberal tends to be more modest to the right, and it has done that over the past couple of years now. So that's, and it's funny because, again, it shows how superficial his ideas are with all this, because Californians aren't the only ones who are leftists. And again, it's also how superficial he has an idea on American politics. Because if you actually... What is on my face? Whatever. I think that's chocolate. I was eating Tootsie Rolls. I have ADHD. I'm so sorry. Because if you actually deep dived on that, California isn't the only people that are leftists. And then also describing leftists as only being from people from California is really funny to me. I find this interesting that Europeans do this, and I'm going to overgeneralize. I understand I'm generalizing, because Americans do the same thing, but in a different way. Europeans have an idea of America, and they'll only paint it as one state, right? And that seems to be how each state is. Same thing how America does this thing where we do that with every continent. All of South America is Venezuela, and all of Africa is Kenya, and we don't believe that Egypt's part of Africa. It's the whole thing, right? We've seen that. Americans do that. Or their idea of Europe is all of Europe, right? People from Europe do that to America, and it's really very interesting because, again, superficial on the surface. He doesn't deep dive into any of it, because each state literally does have its own culture because of how we became a state, who settled here, who was before here, what country was before here, and then, what were the main predominant immigrants that migrated here, is going to you end up with each state being its own country, essentially. And I live in Texas. From Texas. Texas is, I want to say, you can fit several, if not the whole continent of Europe into Texas alone. So, so I think that's funny. But hi, I'm a leftist, and I'm from Texas. I'm not going to get into that, but so that's, and it is different in each state, it's not a monolith. I find that interesting about what he does too, because he'll sit here and say leftist is cold and not individualistic, and we're all the same people, while also pushing the same talking points as every other MAGA red pill person does, with no individual thought. Literally all of his thoughts is the same thing I've heard. We hate cancel culture. The leftists are, that they're supposed to be the tolerant left, and yada, yada, yada. But he doesn't understand that, me talking about what each state, what am I supposed to say? It's if you talk to each, like a leftist in each state, they're gonna come up with different, and yeah, we do, there is kind of like I want to say cult mentality, but what's another word? I guess like a group thinking, right? However, I'm gonna say this with MAGA because he literally has like make goth great again, and he has a whole MAGA hat. He's literally wearing a MAGA hat. That is actually a cult. Holy shit. So we're gonna compare and contrast between that and that, right? If you go to each person, like leftist, who's been in each state, they're gonna have, yeah, similar viewpoints, but we're also gonna bring up things are very specific to each state that someone may not be dealing with. As in, I live in a red state, so I'm trying to combat bathroom laws. We have a list in the state of every trans person that changed their license and passport. Luckily for me, I started my journey later on, so I haven't even changed my name yet. I just got on T. I haven't changed my name yet, and therefore I haven't changed my gender marker yet, which thank God I haven't, because not everybody's put on a list. But I have friends who are actually in blue states who don't have to deal with that at all. So we all come up with our own concerns and our own little, like, how do we combat that, and how that's going to shape our thinking, right? And I find it so funny in this video he's done where he paints the left as this one big hive mind, and we're trying to just take down everybody. We don't have individual thinking. And I find that so funny and rich coming from a person who's trying to peddle red pill, MAGA, conservative talking points. I think that's so interesting, and it's so funny. And also, I think it's sad. You can clearly tell that this person is trying so hard to gain acceptance from a group of people that will never support him or like him. He can sit there and say, well, I've been on Tim Pool's cast, they like me. No, they don't. They don't. I've seen this several times with several different people doing this. They will never like you or accept you. Goth can't be conservative. Those two things, if you actually look at it, one, conservatism is a political movement. That is a political thing. There's nothing about goth that fits anything that is actually conservatism. I feel like people have watered down so many of these words and what they are that people don't know what conservatism is. I know what conservatism is. My family is. They're very strict Catholic. And up until recently, they only voted Republican. Except for Trump, because my family don't like Trump. But I have a cousin that's very, like, he's Mexican for Trump, and I think he's an idiot. But, so I know this is coming from someone who actually knows conservatives. I'm around conservatives, and I have family that are. There is nothing about goth that can even fit into conservatism without trying to either lose yourself or mental gymnastics your way out of into hypocrisy. And you see, and when I was watching the video, first of all, I think he loves the way, I think he loves to hear him talk. And there's an arrogance to this sense of victimhood, this sense of wanting so desperate and hard to be a martyr for something that he put himself in. Yeah. But there is that sense of I have this idea and no one's ever, and I am the first one, and I'm right and everybody's wrong, without ever deep diving any further or trying to listen to other people, trying to explain to him, no, it has to be cancel culture. I'm getting canceled. No, hun, you are saying slurs. You're saying transphobic shit. You said homophobic shit and racist shit. He literally did a Nazi salute in the video several times, which he could be just doing that for rage bait, but nonetheless, you're doing it, right? he's really entered what I see as like this sort of Joker arc, but he doesn't understand. The Joker never wins. He himself is the reason why he is his downfall. I'm a comic book nerd, and but he's one of those people that glorifies this person, where we see right off the bat in the comics and in movies, we already see he's going to be his own downfall. Do what you want with that. And I don't know if this is intentional or if he just moved into this space, but I find it interesting that he's in a room that's completely white and devoid of any kind of any personality. And it's him alone. And I almost find some sort of, that encompasses everything of what a goth would have to do in order to fit themselves into conservatism, into conservative spaces. You have to strip down almost everything of yourself in order to fit. Now, does that sound like being goth to you? No, that sounds like something goth was trying to combat when it first started, right? You can clearly tell because his videos were tanking. Because he would do reaction videos. Goths reacts to e-girls, Goths reacts to this and that. That was great. It started slipping because internet trends don't last. They don't. You have to move over or adapt or just leave. You can clearly tell that though he says he does not care about numbers and it doesn't hurt him, if you well and truly didn't care about numbers or care that people are leaving you, it doesn't hurt you. You don't have to say it multiple times. You wouldn't say it doesn't hurt you multiple times in a video, but it does. He wants to be relevant and stay relevant because he has not been able to adapt. It can't be, oh, I haven't been able to adapt and I've run out of ideas. Maybe I need to look at myself. No, it has to be TikTok. It has to be women. He blames women for a lot of things. He has so many videos of that. And he even says it in that video. It's this person trying so hard to find themselves and getting hurt and trying to stay relevant. So what do I do? What does anybody do in that situation? Right wing grift. You right wing grift. It's so easy. Right wing grift. You right wing grift. You're going to get the quote unquote haters. But that creates publicity, right? And then you get a following. Also, his following is on Facebook, so that tells you everything, right? Facebook, of all places. And it's just sad to see it, but then also, I mean, how long has there been black on my lips? Anyways, how long, well, let me finish that. It's sad to see, but also I mean, you could all tell. And also, he's a piece of shit. Well, I'm not going to say, I think that's an allegation, and I don't want to get sued or whatever the fuck. He will never see this. But, he also equates numbers as he has a Facebook following that's been growing with the whole against cancel culture, right? But again, superficial idea, and he doesn't want to see why conservatism is on the rise. It can't be because of who was just elected that gave voice to these people that shouldn't have been given a voice, right? Also, I love how he keeps blaming the left for his shortcomings with cancel culture. Not because he couldn't adapt his videos. No, it has to be somebody, something. It has to be the left because it has to be TikTok and it has to be the left. Even though the left lost everything. We don't even have the House, the Senate, the president. Like, not even the Supreme Court. None of it is left controlling. But he says leftists control everything. No, hun, the Republicans control everything right now. So if you're upset with how it is not us, bitch. We didn't cause that. But again, it's superficial ideas of American politics instead of looking at yourself in the mirror and going, I have become irrelevant because I don't know how to adapt my channel, so I'm going to peddle right-wing talking points, trying to gain a following that way, where we all circle jerk how we are victimhood and victims of the woke mob, and how dare people call me racist, bigot, or Nazi, even though I should actually be looking in on myself and going, what did I say that would have someone accuse me of that? Because myself, I have never been accused of being a racist. It's not that hard not to do. It's really hard. It's really not that hard to be, like, not a racist. So, yeah. So if you're doing that and you're getting accused of it, that's a you problem you need to fix. It's not, oh, we just, not to paint everybody that way. No, it's, and also saying that you're not a Nazi. He also has, again, it was very evident in his video that he had that it's a superficial idea of this, because he tried to claim that because the reason why he's not a Nazi, it's so evident that he's not a Nazi, because he's a patriot for Britain. Yeah, neo-Nazism has nothing to do with paying allegiance to Germany, and everything to do to claim back your superiority because you're Aryan. It has nothing to do with Germany, because Germany wasn't the only Aryan race. I mean, we literally had, like, Nazis in America. It was like 1938 or 39 conference in Madison Square Garden for Nazis. That has nothing to do with paying allegiance to Germany, and everything to do with an Aryan race. You can't even take, like, 5-minute Google. I learned that shit in fucking middle school. You can't take, like, a 5-minute Google to actually realize that, like, the reason why we're calling you a Nazi is because you are. And if you don't want to be a Nazi, maybe don't do a Nazi salute for funsies, because it's 2025 and we know what those are, right? We know you cannot sit there and say you didn't know that was a Nazi salute, right? Or like when people say it's a Roman salute, even though Roman salutes aren't actually a thing ever, because that's the only evidence of that was a painting that was painted, I think, in like the 15 or 1600s, and it had nothing to do with that. And we have no statues, mosaics, or anything from the Roman Empire that suggests that the Roman salute was a thing. Let's go off. But, or be mad that there's immigrants coming into your country and being very xenophobic. Yeah, I wonder why people are calling you a bigot or racist or a Nazi. And he also, and he also agrees with Nick Fuentes, who is a Nazi, who is anti-Semitic, who will straight up admit, because he's not ashamed, that even though he's Mexican, he's a Nazi. Again, like, that goes back to the people can be contradictory and hypocritical. Yeah, Nick Fuentes is Mexican, which I didn't know that. I did know his last name, but I didn't know, or at least I didn't want to know. But anyways, yes. And so this all comes to this. It's clearly a person with a superficial idea of things, because the real thing here isn't because he actually subscribes to any of these political ideologies, and everything to do with wanting to go on a fucking grifter bandwagon, because he is becoming irrelevant and he wants to stay relevant, because he does care. As much as he doesn't want to say, he does care. And because he cares so much, he's trying to garner a movement where he tries to claim that Goths can be conservative, and he's upset by that. And I'm here to say no. This is the whole point of this video. Say no. You really can't. If you have to mental gymnastics your way trying to put those two things together, you can't do it. You can't be goth and be conservative. It doesn't really work. It will never work. And if you have people trying to combat that, maybe you should figure out why it doesn't work. And actually look up what actual conservatism is. If you are claiming that you're conservative and you're upset by this, look into conservatism, please. Please do some research of what actual conservatism is, and ask yourself, does this really align with my views? Because I really feel like people don't know what conservatism is, and they're probably more into like a moderate thing, but then just getting angry or something. Because no, actually look up actual conservatism. You cannot be goth and do that. I know this as someone who's had conservative parents. Let me tell you, I just have a plain black shirt, and holy shit, my life was hell when I was a kid. Because I couldn't even wear a black shirt because it was satanic. I couldn't do a lot of things. Conservatisms, hello, are conservative. They're very modest and very not individualistic in the slightest. In the slightest. They have a very rigid idea of what men do, what women do, what your role in society is, and how to live your life and future accordingly. Nothing about me could be conservative, which is why I fell in love with the goth community, because I can finally be myself with this as a gay trans man who's fucking Mexican. That is what drew me to this, because I can finally be myself, because I couldn't. Their ideas for what my life had to be was so unbelievably not it. So yes, the takeaway from this video, because I also don't know how to end this. The takeaway from this video is you cannot be conservative and goth. You can't. Really look into these political movements and really, I guess, do some soul searching and see if you actually align with anything of this and what draws you to what. Because I sure shit have no idea what would ever draw someone to conservatism. Ever. So really, look into conservatism. I'm really curious as to what draws you. And then ask yourself, am I a piece of shit or not? But yeah, so this is a long video. This is 30 minutes of me just ranting. But so that was my thoughts on this. There might be more. I might do that. I may actually continue to do this where I just like sit in my car and rant about things. Who knows? So I'm gonna upload this. This might go out today's Friday. Saturday? Sometime in the afternoon, because I also had to work. But this might be either today, like tonight, or tomorrow, depending on, because I don't have any Wi-Fi, so I use my mobile hotspot because I'm poor and I live in a shitty apartment. So depending on, look for that. I don't want to make any promises that this is going to continue to be a thing where I just make videos like this, but I am kind of fucking with the idea of doing this, like showing my face, because I don't know what else to do, and I'm bored. It's really lonely in my apartment. I'm not going to get into that. So yeah, I hope you like this video. If we gained something, learned something, I guess. I don't know. Or was it just me, just an old man yelling at the clouds? I don't know. Like, subscribe, comment. And I hope we're all having a good New Year's Eve. Or New Year's Day, my bad. Whatever. We barely made it into 2025. It's 2026. I don't even know where I'm at. So I hope 2026 becomes a little bit better than 2025. I have no hopes, but I hope we're all doing a good day, and I will see y'all later. Bye.